Hey guys, so hanging out with you guys down here in Bariloche, Argentina. I'm going to tell you guys a story about the last week of my travels. Last time I checked out with you guys, I was heading south on a Navimeg ferry, which is a freighter ferry down into Puerto Cacabuco. So sorry if there's a little bit of road noise here and wind. It's just a windy and a busier city than some of the previous videos I've been shooting, so I found the best spot I could, and I want to jump right into the stories. So basically we wanted to go do Cerro Castillo, which is a hiking trek anywhere from 3 to 4 days in this region of the region of Aysén for Patagonia, which is just south or including the Coyhaique region. So we got into Coyhaique and found out from the tourist office that was closed, so our plans really had to change quite quickly. I didn't know if I wanted to continue down south or just slowly start trickling my way up north to Bariloche, because I knew it was going to be quite a journey, which it was, and I'll get into more detail on that. So instead of going north immediately, I decided I would kind of hit Pablo and John, the two people on the ferry, these two solo travelers, and we headed south into Rio Tranquilo, past Cerro Castillo. But unfortunately, the bus ride down there, it was pretty cloudy and socked in on that day, so we didn't get to see much. But we got down to Rio Tranquilo, and we were just hanging out for the afternoon. It was Saturday, and we found out there was a local festival happening on the Saturday. The one kind of celebrate the season is here, the summer is coming, spring is definitely upon us kind of festival. And we checked that out at night. It was pretty low-key, but then we discovered that there's also the marble caves in Rio Tranquilo, and the marble caves are like definitely a wonder of the world. I don't know if it's like a seventh wonder of the world. It's not that grand of a scale, but it was definitely something super unique to go and experience on a pretty cheap boat ride. We went on the next day. We ended up touring into these marble caves and getting a chance to see the rock formations that happen over millions of years as they kind of come together and crystallize and create these caverns. And the textures, we got to get right up and close and personal with the rocks and touch them, and it was just really a awe-inspiring experience to see that kind of beauty in just something as simple as rocks. I mean, I love rocks, but yeah, the marble caves was definitely something really unique in the scenery as well. I mean, it was like a lakefront ocean panoramic views, and you guys can see the photos. I'm not gonna babble forever on that, but it was really awesome to get a chance to engage with that part of the culture, and we didn't have to pay an arm like to actually go see the marble caves, which was really nice, because you could have gone kayaking, which would have been a lot more of an experience, I guess, from what people were saying. You would have taken more time, but it would have been a lot more money, and it would take a longer time, and I wanted to actually start heading north on the Sunday, so I ended up finding a bus that I could get at 3 p.m., which worked out perfectly. So I went for this boat tour early in the morning, and then I ended up finding a climbing partner to go climbing with. I had to pay the guide, obviously, but I was hanging out in one of the tourist office, and I saw this girl walk by with climbing shoes, and immediately I was like, oh, donde es la escalada roca? And she was like, where's the rock climbing? And she said, oh, I have friends. So she gave me two people's names and numbers, and I contacted them on WhatsApp and Facebook, and was basically trying to coordinate to go rock climbing with them, and I ended up swinging that within about a 24-hour time window, which was awesome. So I went climbing up on the cliffs in Rio Tranquilo, and the views up there and the climbing experience, being able to climb in Patagonia. I mean, it wasn't the traditional climbing, you know, you drive over there and you go climb it, get to the peak, but we were climbing sport on the side of the lake there, and it was really a special experience. And after that, basically I headed north, and that's when, yeah, I mean, I'm still heading north now. I'm gonna head north till I hit Vancouver, but that marked the turning point, I guess, in my journey, and that's where the real adventures of being solo traveling through Patagonia began, because I wasn't taking any time to really have to connect on Wi-Fi, so I took the opportunity to start hitchhiking through north. So I took a bus from Rio Tranquilo on that Sunday that I ended up swinging up north to Coyhaique, and I met these two Kiwis who were pretty drunk, and I took care of them for the night, and, you know, went to the grocery store, bought groceries with them, bought some more wine, made them dinner, found them a place to stay, and we all kind of had a good chuckle and hung out on the Sunday night. And then Monday rolled around and we were just hanging out for the day. My bus didn't leave till 3 p.m. that night. So again, like, I didn't start hitchhiking for a couple days, but it was basically like one bus a day is what we were dealing with down there. So you had to really time what you were doing that day. So I ride, close viewpoints, and just did that solo, hung out in the square and talked to some local students, and was just really working on my Spanish. And obviously, in the town square, a bunch of people are going to come up and talk to you. So it was fun to just engage with the community in Coyhaique, and then I ended up north to the Coyhaique National Park, which is where the Hanging Glacier is. And I knew that it was hard to find good weather there. So like, that microclimate is very cloudy, rains even more so than normal in Patagonia. So people said if you could find a clear day there, that you'd be pretty lucky. So as I was heading up onto this bus north into the Coyhaique National Park near Puhapi, I saw that the weather was going to get really shitty overnight and it was going to be cloudy. And my original plan was to go to Puhapi and then hitchhike into Coyhaique National Park and see it the next day. But I made the kind of impulse decision to get off the bus on the side of the road where Coyhaique Park was instead of backtracking in the hitchhike. And it was 6:30ish when I got off the bus. It was about 3 kilometers into the park, and there was no national park rangers around. I didn't see anyone in the campgrounds. Like, there was not even, like, in Canada we have slips where you can grab envelopes and put the money in and then pay and leave. I had no ability to pay for anything or talk to anybody. Even though I saw charges, I would have obviously gladly paid for this stuff, but I couldn't. I had no function of paying for what I was seeing, so I kept going, and I ended up camping the night at Coyhaique. But before I settled down for the night, the sun was setting and it was clear, which was like, holy crap, I knew this was the window to go take photos and hang out. So I ended up trying to go to the lakes and the viewpoints, but turns out the bridge was under construction and the trail had just received a lot of rain from the last week, so they weren't they didn't have it open due to danger, because they don't want people walking not on the path, because that obviously damages the native flora and the native plants and the trail, so degrades the trail. So people are supposed to be walking on the path, but because there was so much rain, the mud was just like obscene. And so I ended up getting a chance to go to a closer viewpoint, and I bushwhacked my way down this cliffside down onto the bed of the river where this waterfall came down, and the waterfall was probably 2 kilometers away with the glacier, a kilometer and a half away, but it was still absolutely spectacular to see the sunset in this valley. And I shot a video of it. It was just like absolutely ridiculous. So I had an amazing time there and camped the night. And then the next morning I woke up and I started my hitchhiking, and the hitchhiking is really, I would say, a huge part of the last week that I did, traveling through Chile and Argentina here. So I basically got to the edge of the national park again. It was like 8 o'clock in the morning, 7:30, put my thumb out there, and within like 10 minutes, boom, this mom who was driving her kid into school into Puhapi picked me and another girl up, local girl, and drove us into Puhapi, which was great. I was like, that's an awesome introduction to hitchhiking. I've never done this before. It took really like no time at all. And then I got dropped off on the one edge of Puhapi, and then I walked a couple kilometers with all my bags, which were pretty heavy, to the other side to this bus stop. And I started waiting there for the next bus or hitchhiking opportunity. So I basically was just waiting for the cars to go by, and I was just going at it. And eventually, this guy, he came up to me, and he was another local guy, and he was hitchhiking north. He'd been traveling through his own country for a while now, so I got a chance to get to know him, and we chatted for days, literally. So we spent about 2.5 days together, and Alfredo, if you're listening, I mean, super stoked that you're listening, but yeah, I met this guy Alfredo, and we basically hitchhiked a ride. The first ride we got was in the back of a dump truck that was empty, and we just hung out there. We got 20 kilometers down the road, and then they had to get to their construction site where they were at. So we got off and we started walking, and it was like, who knows where the next food source was going to be, how long it was going to take us to get to La Junta, which was the next place we were on our journey. And we started walking and walking and walking, and all of a sudden we come around the corner and we see this dead, like, baby deer in the middle of the road, and it was like, holy shit, like, this thing was like not mangled, but it was dead. Like it had died. And Alfredo was, you know, like me, a bit of a dangerous adventure freak kind of guy, and he wanted to seek new experiences like I always do. And so he at first was like, we need to get this deer off the road because, you know, just for the respect of the animal and the safety of everybody driving on the road, which I was like, dude, recommend, like, totally, we should do that. So he grabbed the deer and pulled it aside of the road, and as we were doing that, Alfredo kind of started touching it, and he realized like it was really hot. Like it was like a very warm animal. And then he went ahead and he went to the blood pool that was on the middle of the road, and he touched it, and he's like, Mitchell, the blood is still warm on the road. And it wasn't like a hot day or anything, so this animal had been killed like recently. Like it had been hit and killed within like an hour or 3. Like that day, that morning, it was definitely hit and killed. And so we kind of like made the impulse decision to, you know, we should honor the death of the animal and not just leave this thing out here for roadkill and let other, you know, people just drive by it and let it rot and degrade on the side of the road. And so we decided to cook it. I mean, Alfredo had never had deer. I've had deer before, and obviously I don't like putting myself in the box of saying I'm a vegetarian, because I think that limits you to life's experiences, and this is kind of why I don't tell myself that I'm a vegetarian. I just try and eat a harm reduction diet for myself and everybody else around me. And so we sat there, and pretty quickly we made a decision that we were gonna, you know, fillet or like, you know, butcher the animal. And Alfredo figured he knew what he was doing, and he definitely did. He'd seen his parents do it before, so he went ahead and started cleaning the animal, and I started gathering firewood, and we made a fire about 10 meters off the side of the road, a bunch of rocks, and we ended up cooking this deer and having quote-unquote roadkill, but I mean, it was delicious. We waited about an hour and a half to slow roast this deer on the side of the road. We had nothing else to really do, and we had cars driving by constantly, but we were like, you know what, we're not going to hitchhike any of this, so it's fine. We sat there and we enjoyed a meal together, and I think that was just such a cool experience to like really just get down to the ground and talk to someone who's, you know, from Chile, grew up in Chile, he's traveling through Chile, and he's just hitchhiking and backpacking through Chile. And yeah, I mean, those are the experiences that you don't really know that you're going to get into when you get on a plane and leave your country and you start traveling. You didn't realize you're going to be hitchhiking through the Patagonia, eating deer on the side of the road with a Chilean, and having some great conversations about things that, you know, you never thought you could have in Spanish, and Spanish English, broken English, or whatever. So after the meal, we kept our journey going, and we decided to continue hitchhiking. So we walked and walked and walked and walked, and we ended up walking past a whole bunch of waterfalls. It was spectacular. And then eventually, like, nobody was pulling over. Eventually this one family pulled over a couple kilometers down the road into closer to La Junta, in a campground nearby. So they drove us a few 6-7 kilometers down the road. Luckily Alfredo spoke Spanish. I didn't really know what the hell was going on. And then we had to walk from there basically all the way into La Junta. Even the tractors didn't stop for us, which was crazy. Like, this tractor guy comes out of his farm, he's got all of his trailers and stuff, and he just basically like, oh, I'm just going dash down the road, and we're like, yeah, we know you're going to La Junta. It's like just down the road, like, that's where we're going, can we get a ride? And he just didn't want to give us a ride, which was kind of a shame. And Alfredo was explaining that there's a lot of people in that area that can tend to be like xenophobic, which is basically like fear of people from outside of their country because you're in such a rural area. But eventually we got to La Junta, and it was just about nightfall. We decided we'd find a place to stay, so we found hospitality for the night and secured that. And then once we had that option, we continued to try and hitchhike, which failed. We went to the end of town and see if we could hitchhike a ride to the next town, which was Villa Santa Lucia. So the next morning we woke up and we started our hitchhiking to Villa Santa Lucia, which was a small town that had been hit pretty hard by a glacier melt about 4 years ago, like devastating. There was about 400 to 1,000 people that lived in this town beforehand, and that population obviously plummeted when this glacier melt hit a few years ago. And that really hit home to me because it shows you how fragile everything is when you're traveling, and maybe you're living in a rural area or you're living in a big city, but something can happen and boom, like your whole life is flipped up on its head really quickly. And for Alfredo, it was pretty impactful to see that happen to his own people and really experience that. He'd never been to this town, and we just kind of didn't know what to do from there. We hitchhiked into there on a waste sewage truck on the bench seat of the guy's truck, and that was a much appreciated ride because we got into Villa Santa Lucia, and I didn't know what to do. I didn't know if I wanted to go to Futaleufú, which was the next town. It was a border town where I was going to be making a crossing into Argentina, or go to Chile with Alfredo, because I just had no idea what was over towards Futaleufú, and I didn't see anybody driving that direction. But luckily, I ended up finding a bus. The buses came to the terminal, and there was a bus going to Chile, and there was a bus going to Futaleufú. So after that pretty crazy day and a half of hitchhiking, I was like exhausted, and I decided to get on this bus for $3. I was like, you know, at $3 Canadian, I'm definitely taking this bus out to Futaleufú later this afternoon, and ended up parting ways with Alfredo. But definitely enjoyed my time that I spent with him, and I got into Futaleufú, and once I got there, I mean, all of these drives were just like absolutely ridiculous. Every single one of them. Every single time you got in a car and you started driving through the landscape, it was like, that was worth $1 million to me. These mountains and this whole region is absolutely phenomenally spectacular. When we got into this I got into the small town of Futaleufú, and the scenery was, again, like cloudy, a little bit of sun, but the next couple days were going to be better. And I decided, so I was like, okay, well, when's the next bus to the border and the border crossing and all that jazz? Or you can hang out here for a day or two, and the next bus leaves on Friday. So it was Wednesday night. I said, yeah, I think I can spend a day here. It was a pretty chill town. I ended up eating a bunch of these Dolce Delicious pastries that this guy had made with like homemade crusts and whipped cream, and Dolce Delicious whipped cream with walnuts, and then Dolce and Delicious. And Dolce and Delicious is like the Nutella for Germany of like